Ladies and gentlemen, we're here.
I'm part of the Kliq, isn't everybody?
Yes! 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 I got an idea, yeah. Beat up John Cena!
Give me a hell yeah!
Oh, a little bit of the bubbly.
Too sweet! This is where the power lies!
I am the man.
It's showtime, folks!
The following episode is scheduled for one fall, and it is for your listening pleasure. This is In The Kliq.
What's up, everybody? Baby Huey here, and joining me once again is my good brother from Pro Wrestling Unlimited. It's Tim. How's it going, man?
Pretty good. How are you doing? It's been a while since we've done anything together, it feels like.
I know, man. It's been long overdue. I apologize. Well, I apologize to the Kliqsters. It's been a couple weeks since I got an episode out. It's just been crazy at work, which is coworkers going on vacation, and I've been holding down the fort at the radio station, and just between work and personal life, my time's been stretched thin. So trying to get an episode recorded. Also, Brian Tronick, once again, congrats to him and his wife Cindy. He just had a baby boy a couple weeks ago, so even his schedule's been all busy being a dad again. So trying to find time for him and I to get to record together. It's been a little hectic, so he's been busy, being a dad, by all means, that's more important than this podcast. Right. So, I hope I texted him last night and I said, hey, it's okay. I have Tim jump on with me to record. He's like, yeah, sure. No problem. All right, cool. Thanks, man. So have fun with the baby. So, but thank you, Tim, for stepping in, getting the hot tag, coming in and being on In The Kliq. But yeah, it's been long overdue. I apologize for that. But yeah, man. And plus, yeah, it's been a minute since you and I did a review over on your YouTube channel and your stream. But yeah, how's everything been going, man?
Well, I mean, other than my couple injuries recently.
I know. I saw the tweet.
Messed up my foot and messed up my hand. But other than that, I've been fine.
I know you've been busy like crazy with all the news you've been breaking and reporting on your website and on your YouTube channel, which I encourage everyone, subscribe to Pro Wrestling Unlimited on YouTube. Check out your website, have that bookmark, check that out daily for all the latest wrestling news and whatnot. It's crazy, Tim. If you really think about it, in the last couple weeks, I feel like what's been going on outside the wrestling ring has been more entertaining and engaging than what's going on in the actual ring, with just all the news and drama and everything going on around. I mean, have you noticed that as well? Is that something you've kind of just noticed?
Yes, and the craziest part of all that, it's like once one story hits, it doesn't have time to fester before something else comes and knocks that as like old news.
I like that's the thing. I had originally on my show notes, but then I had to bump it because there was so much else going on. But Jeff Hardy's unfortunate DUI, a couple weeks ago now. Like within the next day, Sasha Banks, Vince McMahon, all this stuff has been going on. So Jeff Hardy, it's kind of like a little bit old news now. Which I hope he's still going to get help and all that stuff. That's a serious issue, but that's a perfect example of so much going on. And I mean, in the last 6 weeks. Everything that's been going on the last couple months, the first 6 months of this year, it's crazy. I cannot wait for like people's end of the year reviews of the year 2022 in pro wrestling. Like, there's so much has happened. So I mean, for you, you must be just constantly busy, just making the videos and getting all the news out there. Like I said, it's so much to keep track of, and so like I said, it's been so busy with work and everything going on, but I was like, I need to get an episode out. This whole Vince McMahon story has been crazy. So much going on. And I was like, I got to get an episode out. I know it's been like over a week now. And I'm sure for a lot of people who are listening to this podcast right now, most likely you guys probably know all the details already, but let's just kind of highlight, the main points, and then we'll get into like our opinions and kind of break it all down. So, Tim, please jump in. Let me know if I'm missing anything.
Gotcha.
So Wall Street Journal last week reported an article saying that there's a internal investigation with WWE from the board of directors that Vince McMahon allegedly, paid $3 million hush money to a former WWE employee going back to 2019. It was a paralegal who worked for WWE who then did she become Vince McMahon's assistant?
Laurinaitis.
Laurinaitis' assistant. Okay.
Yes.
She was getting paid $100,000 originally, got bumped up to $200,000. Had an affair with Vince McMahon. She's apparently someone that had come on some hard times, needed some money, went to law school. She didn't go to the bar, get the bar exam done, so she's not officially a lawyer, but so she's working for WWE, has this relationship with Vince McMahon. It ended. She had to sign an NDA from Vince McMahon's lawyer and $3 million hush money, right? Is that kind of the gist of it?
Not just Vince McMahon, but she was involved with John Laurinaitis as well.
That's right. And in the article, it said she was passed around like a toy.
Right.
That was
That's what her friend told in the anonymous email to WWE's board of directors.
Yes. So that's how this all thing started. It was end of March, I believe. Yeah, anonymous email sent the board of directors about this affair, this NDA, hush money, all this stuff. And it's been an investigation, in April and May, and still going on now. So with that being said, this article comes out, which I'm kind of curious, who spilled this info to, the Wall Street Journal to get this out there. Was it someone from the board of directors? There's a lot of, conspiracy theories. How did we get here to this situation? Then within a couple days, it was announced Vince McMahon was stepping away, not stepping down, stepping away, right?
That's the thing that people are misconstruing. Everyone's reporting Vince stepped down. No, the real verbiage is Vince stepped aside.
That's right.
And when they said aside and not down, that's when I knew he's still in that role.
Yeah.
He's still doing whatever he wants. Stephanie's just a face.
Exactly. So, when he stepped aside, Stephanie McMahon was then promoted to interim CEO of WWE, which is very interesting because last month she announced she was taking time off away from WWE to spend with her family. There was a lot of people speculating, why is that? Why is she stepping away? And now with all this drama going on, it makes you wonder, she's a member of the board of directors, so maybe did she already know in advance of this stuff going on with her dad? And obviously,
so the word is, every member of the board knew about this and got that email, or knew about that initial email and the investigation. Yet 4 members of the board, 4 of the 12 were not involved in the investigation. We assume that is Vince, Stephanie, Triple H, and Nick Khan. The others, who are outside entities appointed to the board, not employees of WWE, are the ones doing the investigation.
Wow.
But they're the ones that don't have any actual ties to WWE. So this isn't gonna them. They don't have any, what's the word I'm looking for? If something bad happens within this investigation, they don't have any reason to say, we need to sweep this under the rug, or this might hurt the company. To them, they just worry about, are the people that are investing in this company, are the stock, what's the word? The stock owners or whatever. I know that's not the right word, but are the
shareholders?
Shareholders, that's it. Yeah. Are the shareholders being informed properly on what the funds of this company are actually being paid on? And that is where the big thing is. Now, the $3 million, you could throw that away. That line, throw it away.
Yes.
Because that is Vince's personal money. Now, where Vince can get in trouble is that pay raise. Because she was making $100,000. Then, allegedly, after they became involved, him and this woman, who I've heard 2 different names, I'm not going to say either. That's not my business. Him and this woman became involved. He basically doubled her salary. That is where Vince can get in trouble.
And that's the thing. I saw a lot of people online says, "Oh, who cares? This should only be concerned between Vince, the woman, and it's a private matter just because he had an affair. That's a private situation, him and his marriage." No, what people don't understand, this could possibly violate the code of conduct within WWE's business model. And correct me if I'm wrong. As far as part of WWE's code of conduct is having a relationship with a fellow coworker and not bringing that forward, like announcing that, revealing that. Also, as far as code of conduct, like, are you, paying someone double, giving them more money from the company money? And is that, the right thing to do from a moral standpoint? I'm trying to think the other aspect of it, as far as it makes you wonder, like, okay, this is one NDA. It makes you wonder how many other NDAs have happened over the years, and where's that money gone? Where's the source of those money for those separate NDA incidents?
Right.
So, right.
And according to that initial report from the Wall Street Journal, I always for some reason say Washington Street Journal. I don't know why, but from the Wall Street Journal, they said that WWE is investigating now possibly multiple NDAs, but they didn't know how many that was.
Okay.
There's a lot of different rumors, but no one actually knows.
Yeah. So there's a lot to potentially, uncover here with this, investigation and looking into all this stuff and how long it's been going on for. And then with that being said,
I want to read one thing first, because you talked about code of conduct. And Brandon Thurston of WrestleNomics posted on Twitter something from WWE's corporate website on their code of conduct that says that they will not grant or offer any employment quid pro quo for personal intimacy. That is on WWE's corporate website.
Meaning
no relationship. I'll give you more money. You can make more if we're involved. You know what I mean? No executive can tell anybody below them, "Hey, you do for me what
I'll scratch your back if you scratch my back."
Basically, yeah, kind of.
So, yeah, as you can see, and then also, it's if this is an example of him sleeping with a coworker, and if there's other NDAs out there, how many are those other fellow coworkers from over the years? So, him, as the face of the company, allegedly, potentially, sleeping with a bunch of other coworkers over the years. Is that the right work environment, right? Is that kind of also it?
There is the infamous 80s referee story as well.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
She wanted to talk about her pay she got in Vince's limo. Vince said, sure, but give me a favor.
Yeah, allegedly.
She said no.
Yeah.
He wanted oral sex, and she said no, and he released her. Let her go.
Yeah. And then she talked about it in interviews in the early 90s, if I remember correctly. So, if you want to look that up, you can then, the info's out there. But that's something
also, I will say,
resurface.
There's one former Intercontinental Champion that thinks he knows way more about this than he does, and I'm not going to say his name. Don't listen to him. You might know who I'm talking about.
Oh, does he have a big appetite?
Yes.
Okay, gotcha. All right.
People keep sending me his stuff going, is it true? Look, he says this and he says this. He knows he was in the company for that. He knows nothing. He said John Cena signed an NDA about something that he's not allowed to. Like, what?
He's just burning his own bridges 10 times over.
Oh, yeah.
So, the investigation. Yeah, so it's about, the code of conduct, if he's violated a bunch of this stuff. Now, the repercussions from this. Well, that's the other thing too. It's because of this, I think Meltzer reported that obviously Vince and Linda McMahon, while on paper are still married, they have not been actually together for a really long time now. So,
and the other thing with that is, who knows what their relationship was?
Yeah.
Were they in an open relationship where either didn't care what the other did? That's again one of those things where I don't care. What your relationship is, your relationship.
Yeah,
it's when things are impacting the company you are running is when things get a little hairy.
Yeah, exactly. And, you're using other people's money and whatnot. I mean, so that's the big question here. And, hopefully maybe we'll get more info over time, maybe the results of the investigation. And who knows, it might take a couple years, whatnot. I mean, when we get more info and maybe the true story over time. So it's a lot to unpack here, man. There's a lot of layers to this, and it's really interesting. I mean, this is probably the most serious situation Vince has been in personally since the steroid trials back in the early 90s I can think of.
Yes, this would be, as far as his job in jeopardy, this would be the worst since the 92 steroid trial.
Yeah. So, man, it's just like the timing of it all, with the Dark Side of the Ring episode of that was last year and stuff, revisiting that storyline. So, so it's, like I say, a lot to unpack here as far as, Vince McMahon. Now, I think a lot of people are wondering what could happen from this. Will Vince actually, be let go or leave WWE? That's yet to be determined. And I've tried to listen to other people break it down, and I've been trying to understand all the possible repercussions from this. So I know he stepped aside from the CEO, the business side of things. He's still in charge of creative, as far as, the week-to-week television and Raw, SmackDown. We saw him come on SmackDown last week and literally just say, a few lines and say, welcome to SmackDown. Come on Raw this week. Just said, hey, John Cena's going to be here next week. I would love to get your opinion. What do you think of just whole the Vince McMahon appearances so far on SmackDown and Raw?
Oh, well, not to get a little vulgar, but that's just Vince over there swinging his big Johnson saying, hey, I can still do whatever the hell I want. This is my company, and ain't no one going to tell me what I can and can't do. So I'm going to come on TV and tell you, hey, screw you. I don't care what anyone thinks.
Yeah, I think it's in some ways it's like a way of saying this doesn't faze me. It's business as usual.
Exactly.
Like on paper or whatever, I'm step aside. Stephanie's interim CEO, which a lot of people was like, wait, she just left the company, or stepped away herself a month ago, but she's back. I hate to I've seen some people online say it's like a PR move.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, I mean, as far as, it's a McMahon still in charge.
Especially when their corporate website still lists Vince as the chairman and CEO as of right now.
Oh, my God.
I mean, the weird thing with Stephanie getting this spot, and not just, she just took her leave of absence.
Yeah.
There was Nick Khan ahead of her that could have took this role. Frank Riddick, the CFO, the chief financial officer, who was ahead of Stephanie, who could have took this role. Basically, it was, I'm going to put Steph in there because everybody likes Stephanie. Literally, no one, I've never heard anybody, at least in the last 5-6 years, talk bad about Stephanie as far as her doing her job.
Yeah.
Other than when she took her leave of absence, some people were saying, Stephanie wasn't really doing that job of marketing the best she could have. When, yes, she's the chief brand officer, but when Michelle Wilson got released, Michelle Wilson was, co-president with George Barrios, and one of her jobs was go out there, find sponsors, and do things with different brands. And that got thrown in Stephanie's lap when Michelle Wilson left or got fired. So Stephanie had to learn all that and start all these relationships with all the brands and stuff.
Yeah.
Kind of from oh, crap, what now?
Yeah.
People were giving Stephanie crap saying, maybe Stephanie stepped away because we didn't think she was doing good enough. But at the same time, it's like everyone outside of the executive ranks never has anything bad to say about Stephanie and her job and her doing the job. But it's like when you say Vince stepped aside, but your corporate website, corporate.wwe.com, still lists Vince McMahon as chairman and CEO and Stephanie as the chief brand officer, it's a PR stunt and a half.
And that way it's still a McMahon in charge. And then, it's his daughter. So I'm sure he can from a distance tell her what to do or give her direction or whatnot. So, it's I'm really curious. Will Stephanie do any major decision making during this time as interim CEO?
I mean, she can. You would believe she can. I don't think she would unless something is found out in this investigation and Vince is relieved of his duties. Here's the whole thing about that. Vince has 80% of the voting power. Yes. Now, if something that violates the code of conduct is found true, then the board of directors, even with his voting power, can release him of duties. Yet, because Vince still has so much voting power, when it comes time to re-vote for people to be on that board, he can literally say, you're gone, you're gone, you're gone, you're gone. I'm going to put these people in and they will reinstate me.
Exactly.
So Vince could, Vince could get relieved even though he has that 80% voting power. But 6 months later, or however long it is till the next voting cycle of who's on the board, he can put his own people in place and go, all right, they'll put me right back in my job.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm sure he knows that. And that's why he's going on TV still and just walking proudly and, going up on SmackDown. When that music hits, no chance in hell, he knows the crowd is going to cheer for him and, just feed his ego. And he's strutting out there. And, he probably feels invincible still.
Have you heard the Jeff Jarrett joke going around?
No, what's that?
So when Vince was doing the steroid trial, the plan in place was if Vince went to jail, Jerry Jarrett would run the company.
Yes,
well, now they've got Jeff Jarrett who runs live events. They're like, they got a Jarrett around just in case Vince needs to go away.
And I've seen that on Twitter. People saying, I guess, Jeff Jarrett could he potentially take over? That's something I was going to ask you about in a little bit. It's like, who could potentially run things, creatively? Maybe if something happens.
You would think Bruce.
Yeah.
Who they just made the interim head of talent relations, who already has way more on his plate than he can do. Some say, at least. Some say that Bruce already does so much that putting talent relations on Bruce was like, what the hell?
Yeah, I know. So, we'll touch on that in 1 second. So, and you brought up a good point. So Vince has like 80% of the voting power, while I know he's like 40-something% of like shares in the stocks, but based on the type of stocks he has, I think
Class stock B, I believe it is.
Yeah, those give him more power. Hence why he has like 80% voting power. So he's still in charge. And you brought up a good point. It's like if he gets voted out or kicked out, whatever. When it comes to voting for new people on the board of directors, he can put people in to re-vote him in. So I don't know. Yeah, if Vince. The only way, we see Vince truly gone. I don't know if there's a way he can really be gone, like long term, as far as unless he just wants to step down, unless he passes away.
I think that's what's going to have to be. Bruce Prichard said this man will keep running this company for 25 more years if he can.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and Vince's mom just lived until 100 and something. So, genetically, if it's been passed down, he's going to live for a long time. So, we'll see what happens.
Squatting 1,000 pounds, sending videos to Pat McAfee.
I know at 5 a.m. or 3 a.m, wherever he works out at what time. Right. But so no, it's going to be interesting to see what happens next with Vince McMahon and this, what if he violated code of conduct, if more NDAs are discovered and what situation were those a part of, and other relationships. I mean, who knows? It's a lot. Like I said, it's a lot to unpack here. Stephanie, currently CEO. As you mentioned, John Laurinaitis. He's currently on suspension, right? Leave of absence.
Yeah,
is that
administrative leave.
Yeah. So then Bruce Prichard has been added to his plate. Head of talent relations, on top of everything else he does for the company. Do you think John Laurinaitis ultimately is going to be the fall guy in this situation and be let go?
I would say most likely. Vince always has a fall guy. Most likely, yes.
Yeah. So
Vince always says, "Oh, well, it was that guy's fault." Like when they did the whole brand split, and they said Eric Bischoff's in charge of SmackDown, and Paul Heyman's in charge of Raw. When the ratings didn't go well, it was Bischoff's fault, so we'll pull him out and put someone else in charge.
Or with the trash bag scandal. With the previous.
Mark Carrano.
Yeah, before Laurinaitis came back and took his job again.
The funny thing about that is people said, I would rather get a trash bag than work for John Laurinaitis.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I know, I think Sean Rossap of Fightful was reporting, backstage reactions to this move of Laurinaitis going away, and it kind of seems like a lot of people are happy because they just, have mixed feelings working with John Laurinaitis. Right. So, I think in this situation, a lot of people are probably happy to see him out of the equation. So, it's going to be interesting, though, with Bruce Prichard in charge of talent relations when he's also one of the head guys in creative. So I heard someone say it's going to be tough because, you go to talent relations if you want time off or whatever you need. But this guy, Bruce Prichard, he's in charge of talent relations, but he's also in charge of creative. So if you try to take time off and he doesn't want you to take time off, he can then screw you over, potentially booking, creatively.
Right.
So it's kind of a catch-22 as far as how much power he has now, and you as a WWE superstar, what could, how could that affect your working relationship with him?
Exactly.
So that's going to be interesting. But, with that being said, is Bruce Prichard still overseeing NXT right now, or... And I'm using that as a segue for the latest
everything
news.
that I'm under the impression of. Well, there's a couple things with that.
Yes.
So Shawn Michaels was at least running creative for NXT.
Okay.
Like Shawn Michaels was that. But as of yesterday, Triple H telling people, I'm back. And it wasn't just a report. So John Pollock first reported that Triple H was at the PC Wednesday the 22nd and told people there, I'm back. And everyone took that with a grain of salt. But then Grayson Waller tweeted out, Triple H was here today and told us he's back. But no one knows what I'm back really means yet.
Could he just be sitting in the stands? Like, I'm back. I'm here. I'm going to support you guys from the stands. Or, is he going to have like a big role again behind the scenes, which is going to be interesting.
So, according to Meltzer on his podcast last night, he said Triple H may have a little more power than we actually think.
Is this... Just hypothetically speaking, is this because of Stephanie being in charge? I think some people are wondering if there's a connection there.
That is something that people, that's what people have been asking.
I wonder.
Would that been one of Stephanie's first moves is to get Triple H back in charge of NXT?
I'm curious. That's just connecting the dots right there of what's been going on.
I have the quote here from Meltzer. He said, he was just there. He said he's back. He didn't say what exactly that meant. I asked some people there, and they said that they just said things are happening, but they can't talk about them right now. But he's back.
Okay.
Perhaps is he back with more power? Yes, he has. He does seem to have more power now.
Okay.
That he's back. So he told people he's back, but couldn't tell them the full what's going on. Like he had to wait a little. I don't know.
I'm just concerned, though, with him and his health. How much can he handle? Now, granted, as you just mentioned, Shawn Michaels has, he's one of the top, creative people there for NXT. So I wonder maybe Shawn Michaels can carry a lot of the workload. So maybe Triple H could have like a big role behind the scenes with NXT, but not as big as it once was, because now he has Shawn Michaels to kind of help out with that. So it's going to be interesting what that is. I think some people on Twitter already are hoping for, a lot of people missed the black and gold era of NXT.
Right.
With Triple H back, can we go back to that? Or can we get like a fusion of NXT 2.0, like get the best of NXT 2.0, the best of the black and gold era, and kind of fuse it together into a new era of NXT. I wonder if that could be the case. I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see what direction NXT potentially goes, because I think NXT 2.0, say what you want to say. I know, from a wrestling standpoint, it's not as good as the black and gold era, but I do enjoy some of the characters now on 2.0 versus the black and gold era. I think it did lack some characters. It was more just people like, I'm a tough person who wrestles really good in the ring. You know what I mean? There wasn't a lot of larger than life personalities, and that's what WWE's whole foundation of sports entertainment. And that's a whole separate, long, in-depth conversation about what went wrong with NXT, the black and gold era and whatnot. But we'll see. I'm looking forward to what Triple H can do, and can get the best of both worlds of the black and gold era and the 2.0 era. So
and the thing with Triple H though is he had these health issues where they thought he could have died from the heart issues last year, but for all we know, maybe he is a lot better than we are assuming. Maybe people backstage don't know how good he's actually been doing, and his health is in a spot where he could now be working every single day. So that's the other thing. It's like we don't know, because since he hasn't been doing the day-to-day stuff, everyone's not seeing him that often, and so they don't really know. They just know what they hear and don't know how good his health may actually be, and maybe it's way better than anyone assumes.
It was last August, so about 10 months now.
Yeah.
So it's almost a full year of recovery. So, yeah, maybe he feels he's at a state now. I mean, this is all allegedly, but yeah,
I mean, it's not like he's going to go out there and get physical.
Yeah, he's not going to take a bump.
On camera. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I don't know. We'll see what happens on that. But yeah, like I said, from who would take over for Vince, that's going to be interesting. Like, I mean, who knows? It could be Stephanie for the time being, and when the investigation's done, Vince takes back over and just business as usual. It could be that simple. It's really amazing, the McMahon family. I know a lot of people make the comparison to the HBO show Succession, just the whole dynamic of the family.
I've never seen it, so I don't know.
I know, I haven't seen it either. Now it's like I want to see it and just see if I can pinpoint who's who. Like, oh, that person's like Triple H, that person's like Stephanie, and whatnot. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens, man. I mean, I feel like this is going to be an ongoing story that we're all going to refer to for a while and see how this plays out. I'm really curious, man. So we'll see how it goes. But the other big news that happened last week, and that's kind of been ongoing, is the status of Sasha Banks. And we all know she walked out on Monday Night Raw. Was it a couple months ago now? Has it been a couple months now, or at least a month?
A month and a half almost.
Yeah, her and Naomi, put the tag titles on Laurinaitis' desk, walked away, frustrated with creative. 16th. Yeah, they're frustrated with creative. Told Vince their concerns. Vince didn't want to change his mind. We all know about that. But now, while it's not official, was it Raj Giri from Wrestling Inc. was the first to kind of tweet it out, said she's been released, but WWE has not officially said anything, but now more reports are saying like her lawyers are getting involved. Is there anything new with that situation?
My impression is it came to terms on she can get her release. Yeah. Now they have to come to terms on, okay, what does that release mean? What is she allowed to do and not do? How long? Because that's the other thing. We don't know how long she still had on her contract.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Was it 6 months? Was it a year? They can literally, and they tried to do this with Brock Lesnar. When Brock Lesnar asked for his release after WrestleMania 20, they said, sure. Yeah. But for the next 7 years that your contract still had on it, you can't do any combat stuff here and at all. He's like, oh, no, I'm going to go play football. I'm going to go play for the Minnesota Vikings. And when that didn't work, he tried to go wrestle for New Japan. And they were like, oh, you can't do that. And he said, no, this thing was for the United States. It's I can go do that. Then when Brock wanted to do the UFC, they tried to stop him again. He took him to court. And the judge literally went, he's telling me that this guy can't make a living for his family? That's not going to hold up. And so the whole Brock's release terms were ripped up basically in court. And so now with Sasha, it's basically, from what I'm understanding, the same thing. Okay. She's got X amount of time left on her contract. And to get that release, they have to agree to, okay, but she can't do this, or this in the next year. It was just like when Renee Young left WWE. She was not allowed for a full year to go work for any other wrestling company to get that early release. Well, that's what the Sasha thing is. Yes, most people backstage are under the belief that she got the release, but that the lawyers on her side and WWE side are working out the terms of what the release means.
Okay. Interesting. So let's say, hypothetically speaking, she is released and gone from WWE. I mean, such a loss for WWE. I mean, she is one of the 4 horsewomen. You can argue she is one of, if not the best female wrestler in that company. Her star power, her crossover star power, with other aspects of entertainment, Star Wars, all that stuff. How big of a loss is this for WWE losing Sasha Banks?
I mean, people aren't going to like my opinion, but I don't think it's as big as people are making it.
Okay.
Because of the stuff that, has come out of when stuff doesn't go Sasha's way, she throws a fit.
And that is true. How many times in the last year alone or 2 years, a lot of speed bumps? Like, this is her COVID. Third time, right?
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Since WrestleMania 35 and all that stuff. Like the third time where she didn't get her way, she didn't like what they wanted her to do, and she's like, I don't want to do it.
Yeah, it was 35, the tag title situation, dropping the belts then against
Iconics.
And there was the other time she was gone for a few months. She had to go find herself. Went to Japan or did she go to Japan, or she was wrestling with?
I know she trained in Mexico.
Okay.
And I think she may have done some training in Japan, or not. I'm not 100% sure on that one.
Yeah. And then and then now this situation. So that is the other thing. Yes, Sasha Banks has had her issues with WWE, and when she doesn't get her way, yes, she likes to leave, and
and then that leads me to my next question of, if hypothetically she goes to AEW and immediately doesn't get booked the way she wants, does she become a problem there? Of I'm not working the champion right away, or this or that, or I'm not got this program, or you're gonna put me where on the card? I'm not on Dynamite this week. What?
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like, okay, what other company should get Sasha Banks? I mean, at this point, only AEW seems the only option because they're the second biggest company. They have a major cable deal, so for her to be seen on TBS and TNT,
right?
That's equivalent to USA Network and whatnot. So and Fox. So for her star power and maybe her own ego, AEW is the only legit option. No offense to the other promotions out there. There's a lot of great promotions trying to do their thing to stay afloat. But yeah, AEW is the only one that has any sort of equivalent broad appeal,
right?
That would probably feed her ego and what she is, what she thinks she is.
Because I would also say, and this is something that some fans may not like as well, Impact has the better women's division. But like you said, the bigger, where's she going to be seen more? The bigger platform. Also, the other question is, how big is her reach going to be as Mercedes Varando?
yeah. Obviously,
I get it when she did Star Wars, it said Mercedes Varando, but in the credits it said that. But when she was promoted on Star Wars, which rumor is she is not being brought back for season 3 of Mandalorian, everything that they said in promotion and all the promotion, WWE's Sasha Banks. WWE's Sasha Banks, whenever they had promotional stuff. Yet in the credits, I mean, kudos to her for wanting her real name in the credits and all that.
Yeah.
But it's like, how much star power does she have, at least right now, leaving WWE as Mercedes Varando and not Sasha Banks?
Yeah. It's going to be interesting for her. Yeah. And the thing, like, AEW seems like the only legit option. So, like, if you go to AEW, their women's division is pretty stacked now as far as just the number of people, ladies on that roster, the list. Now, granted, how many of them are being used properly or used enough? I mean, realistically, AEW Dynamite, the women's division only gets like one match, and it's the bottom of the hour of the second hour normally, right? Like
usually, from what I've noticed, it's like, and they lump all the women's stuff together. It's usually like a woman's match, a woman's segment, and maybe a second interview segment. Like last night, they had the Toni Storm, Marina Shafir match. Then they quickly went to the Jade Cargill interview backstage where they said Red Velvet's injured. Went to commercial, come back, it's Chris Statlander and Athena. No more women on the rest of the show.
And so
we had that 20-minute segment, and you could take 5 of that out because commercial, 4 to 5 of that out for commercial. We had that, and that was all the women's stuff on the entire show.
So, that's my only concern is AEW, will they give the women's division enough attention that she feels satisfied? And as you say, once the honeymoon period's over, will she then get frustrated there, voice her concerns, create some drama, whatnot? So that's, that's, everyone's like, oh yeah, AEW. But yeah, like realistically, they don't give enough segments to the women's division. You give WWE credit, at least they do multiple segments,
right?
And give more time to them.
I mean, just look at Raw this week. The women opened the show.
Yep,
they had a big match there, and they ended the show. They closed the show with the main event. They opened and closed the show with the women.
Yeah, so I don't know. Like I said, I mean, if she goes to AEW, obviously that will get a lot of eyeballs, get a lot of people talking, buzz talking, and I'm sure they'll probably push her hopefully right away, maybe set something up, a program with either Thunder Rosa or Jay Cargill, maybe potentially, or maybe give her like a rivalry to kind of warm her up, and then she goes after the title after that. That's yet to be seen. I mean, hypothetically speaking. But yeah, I'm concerned though, but like maybe after a few months when she's not the shiny brand new toy anymore, will she then get frustrated and express herself like she's done in WWE? So I don't know. We'll see what happens. Because
remember the line that keeps getting thrown around from the Austin interview. Thank you for my hot dog. Thank you for my money. But when I'm not really needed here anymore, when I don't need you anymore, I'm going to go and eat my steak like Vince McMahon. No, she said, I'm not saying it correctly, but I'm paraphrasing what she said.
But she thinks of herself that highly.
Yeah, she goes, I'm like Vince McMahon. I eat steak with vegetables. And the one thing that gets me when everyone posts that clip, they cut it right before Austin gets that annoyed look on his face. Like, really?
That's right. I got to rewatch that again. So yeah, we'll see what happens with Sasha Banks. I mean, of course, we wish nothing but the best for her. As long as she's happy, that's most important.
And I'm not discrediting me saying, she's going to throw fits. I'm not discrediting. She's done great things in the last 5 to 7 years she's been around. Yeah, for sure.
I'm bummed though for the women's division in WWE though. Like, Bayley's not back yet, so there won't be no more Sasha and Bayley, friends on TV, tag team, any more matches with Becky or Charlotte or, Bianca, Asuka. I mean, there's so many great talented women there in WWE, and, that as of right now, Sasha Banks won't wrestle with. I wouldn't be surprised though. Maybe like Sasha does come back down the road. Maybe they'll give her some time away. Maybe she could potentially maybe come back. Who knows? I don't know. But it's just sad because she has such a, I think, big presence in WWE, and she really does elevate that women's division so much. She's so fun to watch. So I don't know. It's a crazy time, man, right now with so much all this wrestling stuff. Also, I do want to talk about, before we kind of get into like Money in the Bank and now even what SummerSlam plans are, I do want to touch on, unfortunately, some sad news. Within the last few days, or was it last week, it was reported that 2 former WWE referees, Tim White and David Hepner, both passed away within a couple days of each other. And such a bummer, man. Both these guys I grew up watching. We can maybe give our thoughts on each one. So Tim, I'll throw it to you first. David Hepner, when you think of like referees, a lot of referees today, I think a lot of people don't know their names. I think that's kind of by design, right? Doesn't Vince not want like people to know the refs' names now? But back in the day when I was a kid and teenager, you knew most of the referees' names. They were, just as recognizable as the superstars. David Hepner and his twin brother Earl Hepner were some of the first ones I remember as a kid. Just kind of your early memories or just thoughts on David Hepner as a referee or his time in pro wrestling.
Well, I don't know much about David Hebner because by the time I started watching, he was more backstage working as an agent stuff. But I've always gone back and I've seen him and various stuff. And of course, we all know David Hebner and Earl Hebner from the whole, there's 2 of them, brother.
The Andre the Giant, Hulk Hogan.
Saturday night's main event.
What was it, like 33 million people watching that night? Like, that was
on
the
NBC.
the most watched wrestling segment match of all time. Ever. Wow.
Like, why doesn't NBC ever give WWE a Saturday night on NBC anymore? Like, why doesn't NBC Universal do that? Like, once or twice a year, give them a 2-hour slot on Saturday nights. Or like, what are they showing right now on NBC? I can look this up right now. What are we?
Rerun. It's summertime. It's probably a rerun of something.
Exactly. They did this back in 2011, 2012. They did Saturday night's main event on NBC.
Well, they do Saturday night main event now, but it's on the house show, right?
Well, that's what they call the Saturday house shows. And then Sunday's the Sunday night stunners. But it's what are they really showing right now from 8 to 11 on NBC?
Well,
reruns of Law and Order.
But I was just going to say, they could even use, because they have the rights to Starrcade. I know Starrcade in the past has just been, a glorified house show that they throw on the network in the past, in recent years. Put Starrcade on NBC or something. I'm just trying to think outside the box. Make it a Saturday night event. Saturday night Starrcade. I don't know. I'm just making up.
Do they see those ratings for SmackDown on Fox on Fridays and go, it doesn't really that worth it?
Yeah, maybe so.
And they're just floating around 2 million.
Which, I don't know, unless Law and Order gets like more than that, and they're like, "What's it? Keep Law and Order? It's cheap content right there,
right?
Recycle that stuff." But yeah, no, David Hepner. Yeah, I remember that as a kid, and Earl Hebner was brought in. David Hepner worked for WWE. Earl worked for NWA. They thought of this angle, and they brought Earl in, and then that's how Earl left NWA and started working for WWE at the time. And then Earl Hebner really kind of became like the more recognizable out of the two, especially in the 80s and 90s. And then, as you said, David went more behind the scenes. So I know David was more sick in recent years.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, he passed away. And then Earl put a great post out. It says, my brother for the last 73 years. Really touching stuff. Really feel sad. And Earl's son Brian Hepner is also a referee. I think they was it Slammiversary this week?
Yeah, he's just wrapped up. They said that the Slammiversary, he main event. He did multiple matches on Slammiversary. He refereed the main event, and they said that he was wrapping up with Impact. Brian Hebner.
Really?
Yeah, that's what they said during the broadcast.
Oh, I wonder where he's going next then.
I don't know, but they even had Earl on there to count a pin in the big old 10-man tag.
Yeah. Well, Brian Hebner, didn't he do some stuff with the NWA a couple years ago? I think
I'm not
as well.
100% sure. I know he's been with Impact for a long time.
Yeah. I mean, he was with SmackDown in the early mid 2000s. Yeah. So, the Hebner family.
He was the one beatboxing for Kurt's rap. If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. So no, it's David Hebner, definitely has a special place in a lot of our fans' hearts, just of what he did, with the Andre the Giant angle.
One last thing people may not know about David Hebner. Montreal, he drove the getaway car.
Really?
Yep. When they all had to run out of that building because they screwed Brett, he drove the getaway car.
Oh my God. Was that the one Cornette was in? Or are you talking about the one Shawn Michaels or
a Montreal screw job?
Yeah. No, but I mean,
I don't know. I've always heard the story of David Hebner drove the getaway car in Montreal.
That's right. Earl ran out too.
Yeah, well, because Earl counted the pin and then booked it.
Yes.
He left. He got out of there.
So after the screw job happened, so David was in the car, and then oh my God, what a crazy night that was. And then so Tim White, another legendary referee. I think in recent years, a lot of people, because of the Andre the Giant documentary on HBO, got to find out how close he was with Andre and was his right-hand man, his best friend, assistant.
He was Andre's handler.
Yeah, and so it was really cool, just all the personal stories he had of Andre and could talk about. And that one part in the documentary that really stood out when he felt so bad that Andre passed away alone, in which he could have been there with him. And God, they were such close friends. But Tim White, as a referee himself, legendary moments. He ref the Hell in the Cell with Mick Foley and Undertaker. Also the one with Triple H and Chris Jericho. When Jericho, Tim White told him, "I want you to throw me hard as you can through the door, bust it open."
Okay.
So we have a reason for Jericho and Triple H to go on top of the cage.
I never heard that story.
Oh, yeah. Jericho, I think, talked about it in his book and podcast. And I think he even reshared it on Instagram. But he said they were trying to think of a way, how does Triple H and Jericho get out of the cage and fight up top? And Tim White said, go ahead, throw me as hard as you can into the cage door, bust it open, and then that's how you guys can get out.
Very nice.
And Jericho's like, really? He's like, do it. Throw me as hard as you can. He did it, and I think he busted his shoulder open. That's when he got hurt. And Jericho felt so bad. And Tim said, no, I told you. Throw me as hard as you can. You did your job. And then I think he healed up. And then he came back, I think, for that one WrestleMania. I think was it 03? What year was that? He reheard it again, doing like a 3 count. And that's when he step away from reffing and was working more behind the scenes and doing stuff for WWE still. So
and then did all those I'm trying to kill myself skits.
What
was that?
With Josh Matthews, right?
Yeah. Like what was all that?
Yeah, that was just some,
I may be wrong here. They call it lunchtime suicide?
Lunchtime, yeah. It was the oh my God. Now you got me. Yeah, I remember Tim White. Lunchtime. Lunchtime suicide. Yeah.
I remember the one he like stuck his head in the fish tank and was like, "Don't pull me out."
It was just weird. Like Josh Matthews always check on him, and I think because it was the point being, it was like it was supposed to be life after reffing, and he was like
that, yeah.
depressed, and it was just the timing of it all was a little suspect. 'Cause I think didn't Eddie Guerrero just passed away not too long before those launched on the website and stuff. So I'm not sure the exact timeline, but
I think maybe it was around. No, Eddie passed in 2006, right?
Yeah.
I know they started like in 2005, I think.
Yeah. So it's but Tim White, I mean, legendary ref, he was, and then his bar, he owned the bar that was at the APA.
Yeah, the Friendly Tap.
Yeah, a lot of their segments there, and how many times
he would legit let WWE destroy his bar because then they would pay to fix it, and in turn, he could do upgrades on their dime.
Ah, smart guy. There you go. So,
yeah, that's one story I heard recently that he'd be like, "Oh yeah, destroy whatever you want," and then like areas where they go, "Oh, WWE's going to pay me whatever I need to fix it. Well, why not do a couple upgrades?"
Yeah, I wonder if he still, or I don't know if he was still owner at the time.
Yeah, I don't know. I hadn't heard anything recently on that.
Yeah, so no, I mean, both two legendary refs, and besides them, I can think of Mike Chioda. I'm trying to think of like other refs that like people know still by name. So
like Mike Chioda's one.
I'm drawing a blank now.
Charles Robinson, Little Nate.
Oh yeah, Little Nate. Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So so R.I.P. to both of them. No, thank you for all the years of entertainment. So, all right, let's talk some actual in-ring stuff. I know there's been so much drama outside the ring, but inside the ring, a lot has gone on in the last week, especially, as we make the build to Money in the Bank, which is next weekend in Las Vegas. Mm-hmm. But at the end of July, not the end of August, end of July, it's going to be SummerSlam. And we already know what the main event is now after this week's episode of SmackDown. So, we see Riddle put up an amazing fight.
Oh, that was a great match.
Against Roman Reigns for the titles, the unified titles, WWE Undisputed Universal Championship. That's a mouthful right there. Right. But Riddle put up an amazing fight, looked pretty close, but I knew in the back of my head he was not going to lose. Roman was not going to lose that night. After the match, though, Brock Lesnar's music hits, comes out, confronts him, offers to shake his hand. They shake hands, but then he immediately F5s him. So, and then it was announced on Twitter. Yeah, the main event
after, like 7-8 minutes after they went off the air. Oh, by the way, last man standing at SummerSlam.
Yeah. So I know a lot of people were frustrated by this. Tim, just get your thoughts on already announcing the main event, a rematch of WrestleMania, but it's a many rematches at this point.
It's like the 8th one they've done.
I know. So your thoughts on Brock and Roman running it back one more time?
I mean, I'm gonna be frank here. As soon as when I saw that match with Riddle ended with about 7 minutes to go, I was correct and not correct, and I texted a buddy and go, "When does Heyman say, 'Hey, Brock's here'?" Heyman didn't know, but Brock did show up. I had some weird feeling of, someone's coming out, but there ain't nobody else ready. Roman said it. Ain't nobody else ain't nobody else left for me. Yeah. Well, Brock's always ready.
Yeah. So
apparently this has been, once they found out Randy's a no-go, which was like a couple of weeks ago, Vince immediately called Brock.
That's I think a lot of people realize this sounds like in case of emergency, break glass, get Brock Lesnar back on TV. Yeah. And that's what it looks like this is a case of. It's Randy Orton, it was reported that he is actually injured, gonna have back surgery. Even Riddle kind of just went in and just talked about it in his promo this week on Raw. So Randy Orton getting back surgery and he'll be out potentially rest of the year. Your thoughts on Randy being gone? It's kind of sucks. It's been a minute since he's had like a really serious injury like this. I know remember he had a lot of shoulder injuries back in the day, but he's been pretty consistent on TV for many years. So it kind of sucks that he's finally has a major injury again.
Yeah, I mean it stinks for Randy Orton, especially right now because it's just so weird. Randy's been around for 20 years. And when you hear people that get excited for Randy Orton, it's not the people that were watching 20 years ago. It's the newer fans. I don't know if it's because over the last couple of years he's just been doing a lot better, I guess you could say, or is it the Riddle stuff that has really gotten newer fans invested in Randy Orton? Because whenever I hear someone excited for Randy Orton, it's not people our age that grew up watching Randy Orton. It's the people that have only been watching for the last couple of years that have seen his most recent body of work.
And you can argue the last couple years, pandemic to now, it's some of his best work to date, as far as more memorable stuff, as far as when the pandemic started and Drew McIntyre was WWE champion, and him and Orton had some great matches back and forth. And I know Drew ran through some other people, was a Dolph and Bobby, the other competitors. But, his matches with Randy were pretty epic, with the ambulance match, the Hell in a Cell match.
Or Orton even said it on the Austin interview that until 2020, maybe he was just phoning it in, didn't really know, how good he needed to be and what really to focus on. He thought, he said it. I always hear the criticism, and maybe I am liable of it. I phone things in and just think that I can skate by a lot of times. But now I've learned, focus more on certain things with promos and certain ways of doing matches. And he said that over the last couple of years, he's actually learned more about what he needs to do to get better himself, which is crazy to think of someone like him that's been around for so long.
Yeah, and that's the thing, take a step back and you realize, he's been at this for 20 years. So it kind of makes sense at this point for his body to, start, I don't want to say breaking down, but, start get some more serious injuries. Yeah. I know he did an interview recently and said he wants to go another, 10 years or so at least. So it's it's unfortunate because, like I said, the last couple of years have been some of his best work, either as a heel and as WWE champion. The stuff with RK Bro has been so entertaining, and that it seems like he's been having so much fun with that. And then even though they lost the Raw tag titles recently to the Usos, it looked like, and correct me if I'm wrong, the plan was originally Riddle versus Roman, Money in the Bank, Roman versus Orton, SummerSlam, Roman versus Drew at Clash at the Castle. Yes. So he was destined for a big summer at singles competition. So it's just unfortunate, of a time of a big push for him. He's suffering his injury. So with that being said, it's just, you look at the roster, no one else is ready to challenge Roman, and which brings up the argument again, WWE's not creating new stars, especially ones that can help fill up a stadium. So that's a big issue there, and that's a whole bigger can of worms of discussion. But it seems like no one else is ready. They got to sell a stadium in Nashville or fill up a stadium in Nashville for SummerSlam. So it's like, get Brock Lesnar. So
I would have fantasy booked. You've got 6, 7, maybe how many weeks till SummerSlam? 1, 2,
I think that's 6 weeks.
3,
roughly.
4, 5.5 weeks or so.
Yeah,
that's plenty of time to build up an AJ Styles who ain't doing nothing. You can go 4 weeks of AJ picking up big wins. Or maybe not even big wins, just wins. Like he did. He beat Ciampa this week. Give him a couple more wins and then go, hey, Riddle, he tried Roman. Brock Lesnar, he lost to Roman. Roman's sitting at home not wanting to defend his title. Come face me in Nashville.
Yeah. AJ, and that's the thing. I was like, who else they could have done? Yeah, AJ Styles. Obviously, he could have said, I'm the phenomenal one. Roman.
And AJ would have been perfectly fine taking that loss. It wouldn't have hurt him, nothing, anything.
Yeah. The other one is Bobby Lashley. He is a former WWE champion who did not, 2-time, and he did not get pinned when he lost the title at Elimination Chamber. So he has a case right there. He could easily confront Roman and said, hey.
No, he wants to play with baby oil for the U.S. title.
I know. I'm like, come on, man. Bobby.
And he did that motion of the belt.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, okay, they're building him up for Roman.
Absolutely.
Nope. Austin Theory.
What? It's how badass would it be? Bobby comes out in a suit, whatever, and confronts Roman and says, hey.
Bobby versus Roman would be a great match.
Right. And you're like, you're holding my gold. I never got pinned. I never lost that title.
Not
I want
only
it back.
I never got pinned, I never got my opportunity to get it back.
Exactly.
Built in.
Exact. The story writes itself. That's why I'm like, come on, man. I mean, that's two right there. And I get Drew. They're probably saving for Clash because I know Drew's been wanting a
Drew
UK
said
show.
It a couple weeks ago on SmackDown. I'm facing Roman or whoever the champion is in Cardiff.
Yeah. So let me ask you this, though. I mean, the Brock said we could talk more about that like closer to SummerSlam and whatnot. And I'm with you. I'm a little burnt out of Brock versus Roman. For Roman, though, in his title reign and this part-time schedule, I think a lot of people are just complaining. It's like, he's at the new deal. It's part-time schedule. This is very reminiscent of when Brock was champion, very much part-time. And it's also, they're like comparing it to the Reign of Terror that Triple H when he was champion. He just beats everyone. Nothing exciting anymore, and there's no one really to challenge. So, what do you think of Roman's title reign thus far? Who do you see potentially be the one to maybe dethrone him and take both titles, maybe one title for two different people? Like, how would you play this out leading to potentially the Rock match?
So I was gonna get to that, the Rock thing. But here's one idea, and I'm not taking credit for this. I saw somebody write this on Twitter. Mm-hmm. Roman can lose the belt without getting pinned, and I'm not talking about Brock. Seth wins Money in the Bank. Seth cashes in at SummerSlam after Brock and Roman knock each other out. Seth turns it into a triple threat, stands there, referee counts to the 10, he's the new champion.
It takes both titles?
Sure, both titles are on the line at SummerSlam.
And I'm with you. That was one idea I was kind of heard as well. It's like the way they're setting this up, it really could be a reenactment of the greatest heist of the century of 7 years ago from WrestleMania here in the Bay Area. So, I could see Seth Rollins winning Money in the Bank and then cashing in at SummerSlam and getting involved, make it a triple threat. And then, you could potentially pin Brock. And that way Roman still didn't get pinned.
Well, no. Neither needs to get pinned if it's last man standing.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry.
They knock each other out somehow. They're both laid out, and Seth goes, well, here's my opportunity. I'm going to go down, cash in, and just watch them both lay there while I win the belt. And then you go, well, Roman technically didn't get pinned. Brock didn't get pinned. They're still safe. Mm-hmm. But here's the thing, you brought up Brock.
Yeah.
What if, though? So we all heard the rumors that they want Rock for next year's WrestleMania, but it's not been a lock. And that it's not something that we know 100% could happen. What if all this Vince McMahon scandal pushes The Rock away? Remember, I don't know if you ever heard this story, but when the stuff happened with Logan Paul and the whole video of the dead body and everything, Fox people called him and said, can you please remove all photos of you and The Rock from your social media? We want to distance ourselves from you and this controversy. Wait,
say that one more time. So who told who?
Rock's people called Logan Paul or his people, whoever.
Oh, okay.
For any photos on Instagram and whatever to be pulled of the two of them together.
Oh, okay. Wow.
So what if something comes of this Vince incident and Rock and his people go, you know what? I love Vince. I love WWE, but we got to distance ourselves right now.
Yeah. Wow. I didn't even think about that. That is potentially, because Rock, he's you could argue a bigger brand than WWE right now. So with all his movie projects coming
Cena's
up, and
starting to get there too.
Yeah,
because everybody wants Cena in their whether it's their movie, their TV commercial. It's like Cena's doing everything right now.
Interesting. I don't know. That could be.
And Cena's now like kind of a face for Warner Brothers and their cinematic universe.
Yeah,
Peacemaker.
Yeah. Which is an awesome show, by the way.
Oh, yeah, I loved it.
I love Peacemaker.
Not a show you can watch with your kids in the room, though, especially the first episode.
Yeah, exactly. But that's the thing. It's going to be interesting to see what happens here. I mean, me personally, so I'm with you. Maybe Seth wins at SummerSlam, cashes in Money in the Bank, and then Cody comes back at Royal Rumble, wins the Royal Rumble, and they get part 4 between the two of them at WrestleMania. It writes itself. And then Cody wins the title, and fulfills his dream, the prophecy, whatever you want to call it, of being the champion his dad never had. Yep. So it writes itself. I mean, it's a nice little happy accident here going on. So
true.
I don't know. It's
I always thought a good way to build up, if they were gonna get Rock and Roman, a good way to build it up would be like maybe at Rumble, The Rock distracts Roman Reigns and screws him. He loses the belt, and that's why they fight. Because it's like, why does The Rock need to come back to challenge Roman for the WWE Championship? And then what? Lose? He's not going to beat Roman for the belt, because then what? He's gone? No, he's going to come and say, oh, well, I did that because I need to knock you down a peg. You think you're the head of the table? I'm the one buying people in our family houses. You ain't doing none of that.
Yeah, so do you think, though, with that scenario with Seth, do you think that will be satisfying for fans of it ending this long title reign for Roman Reigns?
I mean,
you can't please the WWE universe.
Some may be cool with it because it's like, oh, finally someone else has got the belt. But then it's like, oh, that's how they did it. Like, I'm not saying that's any plan they've got. It's
true.
Just something I saw on Twitter that was funny, and I wouldn't put against them of doing, because it would be their way of saying, well, Roman and Brock are still kept strong.
My only thing is, I feel like with Roman's long title reign, part of me kind of wants someone new to beat him, and then that person becomes a new star. Like, use Roman's long title reign to create some new stars out of it. Like, it's going to be a big deal whoever beats him after being champion for almost 3 years at this point. Or wait, let me do my math. No, 2 years. 2 years. I'm sorry.
August 2020. Won the belt.
So 2 years if it's SummerSlam.
I mean, who do they got new? Braun Breaker. That's
it. And I was gonna thinking maybe Gunther, but he's Intercontinental Champion. He's which I think is great. Let him have his own path. Give him a long title reign as IC champion. If he can, bring back some major wrestling respect to that title, and if he's not gonna be nowhere near the main event scene for a while, let him be IC champion. Build up that division with his wrestling style and whatnot. 100%. So, like I'm just thinking. Yeah, maybe Braun Breaker. I'm trying to think anyone else on NXT that could potentially be a threat to Roman Reigns. It's a small list. Yeah. I mean, Cody was the only other one. I was hoping maybe if Roman Reigns is champion at WrestleMania, could Cody come back, win the Rumble, and just challenge Roman?
SummerSlam would have been too soon to do Roman Cody, because I doubt Roman would drop the belt at SummerSlam. And I didn't want to see Cody go in there and lose. Yeah.
So the only other person, and you know me, I'm biased. He's a friend of the show. The most person I've interviewed the most on this show, Drew McIntyre. I love Drew McIntyre. Big D. For me, I love Drew McIntyre. I love just everything about him. He's a great guy, whatnot.
I mean, why not have him beat him in Cardiff?
And I want to see Drew get a big win, specifically title win in front of an audience. He didn't get that with the pandemic. His first WWE Championship from no one when he beat Brock at that WrestleMania a couple years ago. So as a make good, part of me is like, as great as we see Cody, Seth, deep down, I kind of want Drew to be the one to, maybe beat Roman. But, I know they haven't really. Drew was so busy with, Madcap and Happy Corbin for so long. It was, they got to really build him back up some more, I think. So hopefully they could do that by September. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see, man, what's going to be next for, Roman Reigns and whatnot, and especially with him on a part-time schedule. Hopefully they can get me and the rest of the fans emotionally invested in this storyline with Brock. That's going to be the big issue here as well. So, let's see. I know we're running a little bit long. God, Tim, I think maybe we probably should do like another episode soon. I know Brian is still busy with baby stuff. So, I think, let me think. I'm looking here. Maybe I'll check with your schedule, maybe off the air. So much happened on Raw this week as we build up to Money in the Bank, and, we're recording on Thursday here, and maybe see what happens on SmackDown. So maybe maybe on the weekend at some point we can kind of do a review of what happened on TV this week. I know we got into so much outside the ring and, you know, a little bit what's going on in the ring. So maybe let's do that. I know we're running over a little bit an hour here. And so maybe, let's save a separate conversation to talk about, you know, Raw and SmackDown more specifically, because it's really interesting with the build to Money in the Bank right now, what they got going on here. A lot of questions, you know, especially with the women's division and, you know, Carmella now in the replacing Rhea Ripley. So a lot to get into. So let's go ahead and start wrapping things up for right now. Let's continue. We got to do a sequel to this conversation.
For sure.
So let's go ahead and start wrapping things up here. So Tim, where can the Kliqsters find you online?
You can find me basically everywhere. We're on Twitch, we're on Twitter, we're on YouTube, youtube.com/Pro Wrestling Unlimited. Twitch and Twitter, it's at PW Unlimited. You can find me personally everywhere at Timmy Buddy. Mondays and Friday mornings around 11 a.m. Pacific time, I do my podcast, The Wrestling Wrap Up, where I look at the last couple of days of news and bring it to you, as I like to say, a bunch of stories in one easy to watch video.
I love it. And Tim, I will put it out there in front of everyone. You're the hardest working man in pro wrestling journalism today. I do got to give you a big shout out once again for everyone who does not know, you know, all the videos from the different press junkets I've gone to, SummerSlam, WrestleMania. Tim is the man. He's the one who edits those videos down for the YouTube page. So thank you once again for all your help with all that stuff. You make me look like a superstar. I cannot thank you enough for that.
Anytime.
That's great. And then, I'm Baby Huey. Follow me on Facebook at Baby Huey Official, Twitter and Instagram at Baby Huey83. For everything else, at In The Kliq. You know, follow us on social media. Subscribe to us on YouTube and also inthekliq@gmail.com. And on that note, let's go home. And that's the bottom line because Huey said so.